The Las Vegas Raiders really sent shockwaves through the NFL over the last few months. By now we all know the main moves that they made, but recently the Raiders hosted rookie minicamps and we got to see guys like Ashton Jeanty and Bech in action. More offseason workouts are in action as well. We have a ton of news, some Jalen Ramsey trade rumors. The Raiders made a great organizational hire. There is so much to talk about today and so much that I want to get into, but first, before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so the Las Vegas Raiders hired Eagles Senior Director of Scouting Brandon Hunt, who will now be the Raiders' Vice President of Player Personnel. Prior to his arrival in Philadelphia, Hunt spent 12 seasons from 2010 to 2021 as the pro scouting coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and in that role, he was responsible for scouting opponents and evaluating pro players. And I mean, anyone who works for the Steelers obviously has a good track record because they have not had a losing season in 2 decades, which is just insane. And then from 2007 to 09, Hunt served as a pro scout with the Houston Texans after working as an intern in the Steelers scouting department from 05 and 06, where he was part of the staff on Pittsburgh's Super Bowl championship team. Brandon Hunt is a guy that is credited in being a mastermind in the draft room. He will be one of those guys that is always around the decision makers. This is a guy that is well respected by many organizations in the NFL, and this hire makes sense because he was with the Eagles, and you know what the Eagles just did? They won a Super Bowl. So he has winning experience. He knows how to get the job done. He knows how to find the talent that you need to win it all. Anyways, moving on, before I get to the rumors and more of the news in terms of the players, now that rookie minicamps and a lot of the transactional part or parts of the offseason is over and the depth chart is kind of set in place, I want to break down what the Raiders have on paper and how they could potentially stack up to the best teams in the AFC. Because it's clear they got better, now it's about putting everything together on the field. So starting off on the offensive side of the ball, we of course now know that Geno Smith will be under center at quarterback. I think the one downside that everyone talks about with Geno is that he can be trigger happy and over aggressive, which leads to interceptions. And kind of the narrative by most outsiders has been that he can't be a franchise QB if you really want your team to be a contender. But when you take all bias aside and what you think of him and the opinions and just look at the actual stats, which don't lie. Last year in Seattle, he had 4,320 yards, which was 4th in the entire NFL of all quarterbacks. He threw for 21 touchdowns, which was tied for 13th in the league. He had an over 70% completion percentage at about 70.4, which was well above league average. Really, it was just the 15 interceptions that everyone circled, and in most people's eyes, it negated everything that he did and accomplished. But I mean, his PFF ranking was 13 out of the 75 QBs that made a throw last year, and really to me, the yardage is the big thing because I think Geno coming into a Raiders team with a familiar head coach in Pete Carroll and a new offensive coordinator that just won a championship at Ohio State, I think he is going to be able to thrive, and he is going to be in the perfect situation with weapons alongside him like Brock Bowers, Jeanty, Bech, Jakobi Meyers, and many more to succeed. And speaking of Brock Bowers, let's talk about him a little more because he is set to become the clear-cut best and most productive tight end in the NFL in 2025, and in 2024 as a tight end, he was 3rd in receptions in the NFL with 112. He was tied for 8th in the NFL in receiving yards with 1,194, and he also was 5th in receiving touchdowns. And all of this was super impressive because defenses circled his name and focused completely on him, especially when they game planned around him and made their halftime adjustments. He was the Raiders' offense at times, but he still was able to put up that mass amount of production. As for Jakobi Meyers, he had a career best season in 2024, establishing himself as one of the more reliable wide receivers in the NFL. He finished the year with 87 receptions, which was tied for 16th among all receivers in the league. He had 1,027 yards, which was 20th, and then he had 4 touchdowns, which was tied for 62nd, averaging 11.8 yards per catch. According to Pro Football Focus, Meyers ranked 24th out of 98 qualifying wide receivers with an overall grade of 77.7, and his 1,027 receiving yards placed him 17th amongst his peers. Notably, like Bowers, he accomplished this in a Raiders offense that struggled with quarterback instability and lacked other elite receiving threats after Davante Adams was traded mid-season besides Brock. And Meyers' impact really did go just beyond the raw numbers. He was remarkably dependable, finishing the season without a single drop on 126 targets, and he got 66.7% of his contested targets, demonstrating strong hands and consistency even in tight coverage. And he became a vital safety net for quarterbacks Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell during a turbulent season. Looking ahead to 2025, Meyers is expected to remain a key contributor for the Raiders, especially with the arrival of quarterback Geno Smith and new coaching regime regime led by Pete Carroll. While Brock Bowers is likely to still command significant targets, he's probably going to lead the team. Meyer's proven reliability in route running should make him a trusted option in the passing game, with the Raiders investing in young receivers like Jack Bech and Dante Thornton. And speaking of Bech, let's talk about the TCU product that the Raiders decided to use their second round pick on. Jack Bech is a 6'1", 214-pound receiver that the Raiders did select in the second round, as I talked about, of the 2025 NFL Draft, after a standout collegiate career at LSU and TCU. At LSU, Bech made an immediate impact as a freshman, leading the team with 43 receptions for 489 yards and 3 touchdowns, and after transferring to TCU, he really broke out in his senior year with 62 catches for 1,034 yards and 9 touchdowns, a season that ranks among the best in TCU history. Across his college career, Bech totaled 133 receptions, 1,869 yards, and 13 touchdowns in 45 games. I think he can really benefit from being one of the sneaky players that defenses forget about when he does find his way on the field throughout the 2025 season. Alright, now moving on to the offensive line. The Raiders O-line entering the 2025 season is, realistically, a work in progress that sits in the lower half of the NFL's O-line rankings. In 2024, the unit allowed 50 sacks, which was 7th most in the league, and they struggled to open up running lanes, finishing 22nd in run block win rate at 71% and 17th in pass block win rate at 59.4%. Despite these struggles though, the organization opted for minimal upgrades, adding only a couple of third-round picks, signaling confidence in internal development rather than immediate transformation. Statistically, the Raiders' offensive line contributed to a modest 1,357 rushing yards and 4.2 yards per carry, but their pass protection issues were glaring, with 46 sacks allowed and inconsistent pocket integrity. Compared to top-tier units like the Eagles, Broncos, and Buccaneers, who allow far fewer sacks and consistently rank in the top 10 for both run and pass blocking, the Raiders are clearly a tier below, and most league observers and analytical outlets do not place Las Vegas near the top 10. They are generally seen as a bottom third group, with only incremental improvement expected unless their young linemen make significant leaps. For improvement, the Raiders really do need better cohesion and development from their recent draft picks. Pass protection must become more reliable to give Geno Smith and the new look offense a chance to maximize its weapons. The interior line in particular has to step up in both communication and physicality to support the run game and reduce negative plays. The biggest X factor for this group is Dylan Parham at guard. Entering his third season, he has shown flashes of athleticism and intelligence, but has struggled with consistency and strength against elite interior defenders. So if he can take a leap forward, anchoring the middle and elevating the play of those around him, the line could move from a liability to at least a league average unit. His developmental will definitely be crucial, as the Raiders' offensive scheme under Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll relies on tempo and quick decision making, both of which are only possible if the line can hold up. Alright, now to move on to one of the headlines I brought up in the intro of this video, let's talk about a potential Jalen Ramsey trade. Obviously, this is a guy at this point in his career that is just an added bonus to a defense. He's not a guy that you build your secondary around anymore, but he still definitely would be a valuable vet to have around, and it's realistic to go out and get him because it would help with the Dolphins' cap situation. It would be a win-win, and the Dolphins are just a mess right now. They need to rebuild. Anyways, overall, this is the first offseason in a long time where the Las Vegas Raiders have real expectations and hype. Obviously, a lot of work still has to be done and a lot of learning experiences have to happen, but I love the new leadership. I love the way the roster is constructed. Now it's time for everything to be put together. That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point. It's going to be an exciting next couple of months, and if you enjoyed this video and want more, please be sure to like and subscribe because your support truly means the world, and hit that post notification bell so you never miss another upload, because over the next few months, I'm going to be making so much Raiders content. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.